Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Microbit session. We have with us today Katie Henry, and Katie is the head of partner engagement for the Microbit Education Foundation in North America. She is a former STEAM and classroom teacher. She's licensed as a principal and ed tech coach. She has trained more than 3,000 educators to integrate computer science around the world, and we're so excited to have her here today to do the same for us. So with that being said, I'm going to log myself out of video and audio, but I'll be monitoring the chat, and I'm going to bring Rachel and Jared to the session. So
thank you so much, Yolanda.
You're
and thank
very,
you
very welcome
for being here. Yolanda is amazing. We're so lucky to have her with us today. She is a wizard.
I hope so. I hope that remains the same.
And to everyone who is in the chat today, please go ahead and introduce yourself. And if possible, share something that you've made or want to make with the Microbit. And with me today, I just have two very special guests that I would like to have introduce themselves. Today's topic is computer science in 4th and 5th grade. And I just think it's great to hear from folks all around the country and the world who care about these things as well and are using the Microbit in really interesting ways. So let's get started with Rachel, who is my colleague at the Microbit Foundation. Rachel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I've been working at the Foundation for almost 3 years now. I'm head of partner engagement for Europe, the Middle East and Africa. So Katie and I have very similar roles at the Foundation. And I just get really excited about teaching children how to code and to see the excitement on their faces when they realize that they've downloaded something onto a physical device for the first time. I'm going to be in the chat supporting Katie on this webinar today. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. And Jared.
I'm Jared O'Leary. Thank you for people who asked. I am feeling better than yesterday, still out of it. But so I have worked with every grade, kindergarten through graduate, and most recently in grades K through 8. And I have used Microbit in the classroom and then have also kind of created some resources with it that I shared in the session yesterday.
And for those of you who weren't in Jared's session yesterday and are wondering why would others be asking about him, Jared, do you want to? Jared is a hero. I think Jared should deserve. He deserves a Constellations Award for yesterday. He had he wasn't feeling too well, and his wife was diagnosed with COVID, and he was showing COVID symptoms and still is, and is just very committed to computer science education and reaching us all here at the conference. So Jared, thank you for coming back again a second day to help out again. Mm-hmm. And if both of you don't mind, drop in links to activities, especially Jared, some of those resources you've created. Feel free to share throughout the presentation. We've got a lot of talented people here today. Okay, and to everyone else in the chat, if you have other resources of activities you've done with the Microbit, please go ahead and share those as well too. All right, so as Yolanda mentioned, you can double click on any one of the panels on your screen to make it bigger. So if you would like to zoom into my presentation, double click on that panel or open the link at the top. In today's session, we are going to review 49 activities that are easy to integrate with the Microbit and 12 units of instruction, which are easy to modify. We are going to program the Microbit. So if you brought a Microbit with you, we're going to plug it in, write some code, and do some cool projects. If you don't have a Microbit, that's okay. We have a very powerful simulator at MakeCode.com that will allow you to use all of the features on your Microbit. And finally, the bulk of our time today will be your time to explore some of the resources that we look at together, to ask questions, and to be able to take things back with you into your classroom, whether that is a brick and mortar classroom this fall or a virtual camp this summer or something in between. I'm confident you will leave with resources that will work for you. Okay, and Jared and Rachel are helping me in the chat, so I'm just going to quickly scan over here and see. Oh, wow, we've got, hi, Jay. The link to the simulator is makecode.com, and you'll just click on the Microbit module there. Scrolling up, hi, Lily. Wonderful. Wow, we've got a great group today. So for those of you who are brand new to the Microbit, what is it? It is a tiny computer that allows you to learn how to program. But not just learn how to program, really seriously develop your skills. This one little device comes with buttons, LED array on the front. You have 25 pins that you can tap into with edge connectors that will slide into the edge of your microbit down here at the bottom. Or if you don't want to use an edge connector, you have some alligator clips lying around, you can clip those alligator clips right into the little holes you see there, pin 0, 1, 2, 3, and the ground pin. So it's very nice for small hands as young as 8 years old to begin adding speakers or even an old pair of headphones. You can create your own speakers for the microbit just by clipping some headphones on. On the back of the microbit, you see all of the sensors it comes with, including a thermostat, a motion detector, and you see this little antenna up here in the top left for radio and Bluetooth communication. So other microbits and actually send messages back and forth or data back and forth. This also means that you can pair your microbit to mobile devices, such as Android or iOS devices and Kindle devices as well. So you also see at the very top right there, there is a place to plug in your USB cord and add a battery pack. And there's a little reset button that allows you to start your code over again if you wish to do that. Sometimes once you separate your microbit from the computer and you're off collecting data, you want to reset and start to collect new data. So the reset button is one example of how that can help you. So the microbit itself is being used by 25 million students across 65 countries. It is a really powerful tool with over 250 accessories that allow you to do everything from build a drone to build a musical instrument and create wearable technology. There's quite a lot you can do with it. And all of that hardware is manufactured by companies around the world. And so if you even just do a Google search for microbit and dance or microbit and drones, you will find a lot of resources from teachers and students and other companies. So it's just an amazing ecosystem, a lot of resources in addition to what we're going to look at today. So just know you're coming into a big family, and we have a lot to share and learn with you and learn from you. And then finally, as far as the programming languages go, you can program your microbit in these languages you see here and dozens more. It is really easy to get started programming this microbit and even developing your own programming language. We have a student in the UK who I believe is 15 or 16 now. Rachel just went to his birthday party, so she can correct me in the chat, who created his own language for the microbit that he calls EduBlocks. And it is a blocks to Python editing programming language. And so it's a free open source project. You can download it, use it with your students. I think you'll have a lot of fun. So I'm going to quickly, oh, he's 16. Okay, great. And I see just quickly scanning the chat here. Looking good. Okay, things are looking good over here. Thanks, Rachel, for dropping the EduBlocks link in. So now it's time for all of you to get hands-on with your microbit. So today we're going to be using a tool called Microbit Classroom, which is a way to organize and manage a remote classroom. You can push out code, collaborate with your students, and collect their coding assignments. And what's great, it is student privacy friendly. There are no student registrations. There are no student logins. And you will be able to virtually peer over your student's shoulder, which will allow you to help troubleshoot remotely. So we're going to jump into the Microbit Classroom here today, and you'll get to experience that firsthand. And I'll even show you how to save your classroom and use lessons, use that saved file to reopen a lesson on another day. So first things first, it's time to get hands-on. And this is the part where it's weird that I can't see you very well. So this is where I really ask you to use the chat, reach out to Rachel or Jared. We'll help you get through this. You're going to want to open up your microbit box, and your goal here is to find this USB cord and plug your microbit into your computer. So I'm just going to open mine with you here. Take this cord out. And you'll notice there's kind of a small end and a big end, as you see in the GIF here. And you'll just want to go ahead and plug your microbit right into your computer. For those of you who may be pairing to your mobile device today, I included a link for directions on how to do that here in the presentation. And if you're just joining us, you can access the presentation by clicking the link at the top of the chat. So I'll give you a couple minutes to get plugged in. All right, so if you're just joining us, we are plugging our microbits into our computer. Go ahead and do that step. Okay. And I'll talk more about the differences at the end as well, April. That's an excellent question. Okay. If you're able to give me a thumbs up or a smiley face in the chat to give me a clue as if, is it how it's going for you all? That would help me. Yeah, I agree, Lily. Microbit is like an on-ramp to Raspberry Pi and Arduino. All right, I see 2 smiley faces. Oh, 3. Excellent. Okay. 4. Oh, I like your smiley face, Lily. Okay, great. So we are going to head into Microbit Classroom at this time. So I'm going to demonstrate for you how to get in, and I'm going to give you a moment to open a new tab and actually log in. So let me minimize my screen here. And great, you can all see microbit.org. So as your teacher today, I'm going to create a new Microbit Classroom by coming into this Let's Code tab at microbit.org. So microbit.org is kind of your one-stop shop for all the resources to get started with Microbit. And later on in the workshop, you'll be able to check out these 49 projects and 12 lessons that I mentioned. But for right now, we're going to program our Microbit in the Microbit Classroom. So I'm setting up my classroom here, and I'm going to call this activity Calming LEDs. I'm actually going to borrow one of the activities from our website for today. And you can see that it's kind of simple here. Set up your classroom, name your activity, choose a language you want to teach in. Today I'm choosing MakeCode for this workshop. And by checking this box here, I am saving the classroom on my machine. Nobody will have a copy of your classroom but you. And if you uncheck this box, nobody will have a copy of your classroom anywhere. So since today I want to demonstrate for you how to relaunch a classroom, I am going to save it on my computer. And now we can launch our classroom. So again, as a teacher, I have 4 steps to follow. Complete the code setup, share the joining details with you, check on you, see how you're doing, and then save the classroom. So the first thing is to set up the code. So up here in the editor, I'm going to create a little activity today called Calming LEDs, which is a really fun activity to just relax with. And Rachel, who's in the chat, does an excellent job of demonstrating this activity. So I'm going to try to do it as well as she does. So here in the classroom, we have MakeCode. So if you were to go to makecode.com, you would see a programming window that looks just like this, but it's not in the classroom. So those of you that have used MakeCode before, you're saying, oh, I'm familiar with this. It's exactly the same thing as the MakeCode you're used to. You're just going to be able to share it with students. So in today's activity, we're going to use some animations. And I'm going to start by just creating a small diamond on the top and bottom and a big diamond in the middle. Actually, I think I like that diamond better. And at the very top, I'm going to add my own creation. So you see right away the simulator picks up those 3 blocks. Well, at the top here, I want to make one single dot so that my eye zooms in on this really cool design. Well, that's pretty neat. I like that. But maybe I want to inhale and exhale with this image as well. And to do that, I need to slow this code down. I'm going to come back into the basic toolbox and grab a few pause blocks. And notice how I'm just right mouse clicking on those blocks. I can duplicate them right here in the code. And let's run the simulator. Let's see what's going on here. We have, that's kind of a good pace, but I do want to take a big deep breath in at the beginning of my code, a few inhales and exhales. I want to hold on to my breath at the top and maybe have a nice exhale here at the end. So now when I, again, check my code in the simulator, is this running the way I would expect it to? Yes, so far so good. I like this. Okay, I like this code. So just to show you how easy it is to download, because you'll be doing this step in a moment, you come here to the download folder, and these 3 dots here will allow you to pair your microbit to this programming window. So you'll just click pair device again, and you will select the only microbit in the drop-down list because you only have one plugged in. It's this part's simple, and connect. Now for my microbit over here, well, there's a 1 from the activity earlier today, but ignore that one. I'm now clicking download, and you will see a yellow light flash, which shows that the code is transferring. And now you can see right away, I have my beautiful LED pattern on my microbit. So your microbit did come with a battery pack. So what you can do now is just separate your microbit, plug in your battery pack, and you have a nice little project that you can take with you or share with someone. Okay. So to join us in the classroom, I'm actually going to give you an assignment. So I'm going to separate my project. So these blocks here, or if you want to use them, but I'm going to create directions and say, create a calming LED pattern that works for you. If you don't want to create a calming LED pattern, create a different kind of pattern. Be prepared to explain the pattern you created. Okay, so now I'm going to invite all of you into the classroom to program your microbit. So I'm going to share this code with the class and come to my dashboard now and invite you to join. So in a new tab, please go to microbit.org/join and enter these joining details. After you've done that, I will see your name appear down here as you get logged in. So I'll give you a minute now to get logged into our classroom. Plug into on our Macs. What's it? This site. Everyone will come to microbit.org/join. Even if you're on a mobile device and your mobile device is paired to your microbit right now, on your mobile device, go to microbit.org/join and enter these joining details, and you'll be able to program your microbit. Yes, Vicky says she prefers the standard way of downloading. I use it to teach about uploading and downloading and file management. Also, our computers don't store cookies, so the students need to download projects to their Google Drive or hard drive if they want to go back to them. Absolutely. Yeah, so lots of opportunities for teaching points here. depending on what the instructional goals are in your class. And you're exactly right. There's a great lesson in the download process. Okay, we're starting to get some folks into the classroom. That's great. I'll be here in the chat. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in. But the next several minutes are yours to work on your program. I don't see that happening, Vicky, only because everyone's device, everyone's devices are a little bit different. I would be afraid of that too. I don't see that happening. Wow, we have 16 people logged in. This is terrific. Now, I am going to click on someone's name. I think I'm going to pick on Jared. And I can look now at Jared's code and actually see he's working on a really cool pattern. Can't wait to see what this becomes. And if I wanted, I could begin clicking on other students' logins as well to see what they are working on. Another neat feature is that you can share code between students. So if a student was feeling really stuck and needed a little inspiration, maybe Jared would want to share his code with someone else and explain how he was thinking about it and help that student. So this does support peer-to-peer learning as well, and allowing students to talk through their thinking with each other. Where is the pause block? It is in the basic toolbox, colored blue at the very top. Okay. I see 3 students are finished. 2 are feeling decent about their code. 1 seems unsure. If you feel comfortable in the chat sharing any questions you have about the coding process, go for it. You're also welcome to message me privately, katie@microbit.org. If you don't feel comfortable asking right now and today, I'll put my email in the chat as well. It'll probably take just another minute. So if you haven't tried the download process yet, hopefully you can get to that in the next minute or so. Jared is currently this color that you see here because I have clicked on his name and I'm looking over his shoulder as he codes. I could also come peek on Rachel, and she would turn this reddish color and I could see the code she created as well. That's a good question. Thanks, April. If you are brave in the chat and willing to share your code, I would love to open your code on the screen here and have you join me with your video and audio. So it would be really lovely if one person wanted to do that. So think if you want to be that one brave person today that's going to talk about the code that they made. And Rachel and Jared, you're absolutely invited to be that one person as well that explains why you made what you made today, what inspired you. All right, Mark, let's find out. Cool. All right, I'm assuming this is you, Mark. Ah, we've got Jared. Great. We'll have Jared and then we'll have Rachel come in. Hey, Jared. Is your audio working?
Hopefully.
There you are. All right, here's Jared's code. You want to tell us about this image?
So I'm curious. I click the I'm finished. Is there a way for me to go back to what I created?
Yes, I, as your teacher, come into this button here and mark you as in progress and apply the changes. Yeah. Do you want to share anything?
Yeah, what I created was, I was just trying to simulate what would it look like to create like a wave going across the LED screen. So I did that, and then I added a smiley face at the end.
Were you able to download it to your Microbit?
Yep. Yeah.
Do you want to show us?
On it right now.
Can everybody, wait, can you hold it up so we can actually see it running?
Oh.
All right, just hold it there. Oh, wow.
And then there's a smaller wave, and then a smiley face, and then it just restarts.
Yes, very nice. April's asking, can we show your code on the Microbit on my teacher screen? And the only way that would work, April, is if I log in as a student, then I could open it up in the teacher and show you on the simulator. But unfortunately, the only way to open Jared's code right now is to share it with you. I could put it onto your screen. There is a way to open it, though. It's a kind of an extra step. But Jared, is your MakeCode window still open right now?
It says, congratulations, you have finished. We hope you learned something new today.
Okay, let me come back in here. Do you have a share button in the top left of your screen?
I do not.
So if you wanted to edit your code, could you right now?
Not at this point.
Okay. Can you edit it now?
Let me try refreshing. No, it looks, do I have to sign back into the classroom in order to get it?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. If you've logged out, you would have to log back in. The step that I wanted to demonstrate, and I'm going to put all of you back in progress, is at the top left, you should see a button that says share, and that will produce a URL that links directly to your code. And you could share your URL in the chat box. That would be another way to share your code. So if you want to see that, I am, oh, some of you have finished and logged out. So if you're looking at this now, yeah, that's perfect. Okay, well, we'll look at that here in a different way in a second anyway. Okay, Jared, is there anything else that you want to share about your code or the process?
Nope.
Thanks, Jared. You're a superhero. We're so happy to have you today. Thank you.
Thanks.
And yes, Microbit Classroom is free. Thanks for joining, Jason. No problem being a bit late. So as I mentioned, you will want to save your classroom so that you can open it the next day. So I can do that by clicking Save Classroom up here. Now, if I just want to get a sneak peek into my students' work for assessment purposes, I can download a report as a Word document. And this Word document will give me a screenshot of each student's code, and I can see exactly where they left off. But to relaunch the classroom, we're going to download the classroom as an HTML file and click End Session. We already downloaded. That might need to be fixed. That's a little redundant. We downloaded it twice. And now I'll click Cancel. So when I come back into the Microbit Classroom, maybe the next day for class, all I have to do is just drag that file right into this window, this setup window. So here's the HTML file here, drag it in, and I can resume my classroom session. So it would go back to the dashboard, and the joining details have changed. So that's important to know. They change every time you start a new session, and your students can come back in. They do need to log in with the same name that they used the day before, and they will go right back into their code. Okay, so that is kind of our introduction to Microbit Classroom. At the end, I know Yolanda's helping kind of gather questions up. If I've missed anything, we'll definitely get to your questions, so do keep them coming. I'm just doing a quick scroll here. Vicky's got a really good idea about a Google Doc, yeah, with the sharing the URLs on a Google Doc. Yep, and when you log back in, LaShandia, your code will be there when you log back in as long as my browser is still open. So the way that the technology is working here, when I generate the classroom, as I just did, and you log in, our browsers are talking to each other. And so if you log out, that's okay, because I generated the classroom. You can come back in. But if I log out, I will actually shut down the session. So teachers, when you are running Microbit Classroom, keep your browser open and active so that your students can join the session. Very important, very important. Okay, let's move on. So as I mentioned, we are going to take a look at 49 activities and 12 units. And so I just want to briefly highlight those for you and get into our tinker and exploration time. So if you're new to Microbit or your students are new to Microbit, be sure to check out these Getting Started resources. We have great new videos, very, very short, introducing you to the Microbit, how to transfer your program to the Microbit. Lots of great resources here. Under the user guide, you will find a features in depth layout or guide. And each one of these features includes a 2-minute video and a little sample activity that you can do that focuses on that feature. So this could be a really great place to go when you're first taking those microbits out of the boxes and helping students to get started. That being said, if you really just want to jump into a project on day one, you can, because those projects I mentioned are designed for the absolute beginner to get started with everything they need. You can also jump to intermediate or more advanced projects, and you can search by subject or topic and device feature as well. So in a minute, you'll get some time to choose projects that seem interesting to you and come here to code them. You can open it in MakeCode or toggle up here to Python. You can program your microbit in Python as well and get started. Now, if you wanted to start a lesson around this alarm clock in Python, you could open this lesson directly up in the classroom, and students could jump right into this pre-made lesson with you. And this could be a way to really start your day and teach something new, or bring in a small group of students for maybe some remedial learning, or to relearn something, or to learn it again a different way. Remedial learning is actually a funny term because in a way, all learning is remedial because we're always all learning. So I don't really like that term very much. That being said, this is a very flexible tool that you can use in a way that works for you and your students. Now, those lessons I mentioned, those 12 new units of instruction are fantastic. I love the data handling unit, and we actually have another data unit that is really popular, right? Or no, actually, it's the computing fundamentals one I'm thinking of. I love this one as well. What you get here are 5 or 6 lessons, each about 45 minutes, roughly a day's worth of instruction. And where you see this green icon here, you will find the Microbit integration. So maybe you're focusing on making with CS in your class, and you want to look at some prototyping activities. You might just pull out lesson 3 from this health tech unit to bring in some health activities into your class. Introduction to cryptography, introduction to science, and more. So with that, I'm going to give you time now to go to microbit.org and find some lessons or projects that you like. And then we're going to come back together in probably about 15 or 20 minutes and wrap up with some Q&A. So I'll be here in the chat if you need anything. This time is yours. Correct. Microbit Classroom is for synchronous learning, bringing students together. And then once they've submitted that assignment, maybe you have a choice board ready for them, or options from where they can go from there. So you're correct, Lily. Microbit Classroom is for synchronous learning. Another way that you could assign projects asynchronously, Lily, is by coming into the Projects tab and choosing a project here. Once a student opens that project up in MakeCode, you could have students just submit this URL to you that I was mentioning earlier. So if you do want to set an assignment that's due by the end of the week, all students would have to do is click the share button, title the project, and publish it. And they'll be given a unique URL directly to their project. And they could submit this URL on their own time to you as well. What Jared wants to know one of my favorite tutorials and projects and why. I'll show you. I love this headphone project. I think it is so much fun, and with unfortunately a lot of the testing that happens, schools have invested in mass quantities of headphones, and so it's a great peripheral that a lot of schools have access to that students can repurpose in a super fun way. And so actually, if you have your headphones near you right now, you could do this activity. You'll need 2 alligator clips, one to the negative side of your headphone jack and one to the positive side. And you can actually play music through your headphones. Yeah. Absolutely. So Sarah asked about using some of the sensors like in the data handling unit. I love data. I love sensors. Okay, so let's do something fun with, we can do the accelerometer. So let me get plugged in here. Actually, Sarah, well, I chose accelerometer. Maybe I should have asked you what sensor you're excited about. We should do a poll on everyone's favorite sensors. So a lot of times when you're working with a sensor on your Microbit or some other tool in the classroom, it's kind of hard for students to think about the data that the sensor is collecting or responding to. It just seems kind of like magical or mystical or super huge mystery. So a really great place to start with the sensors on your Microbit is making what the sensor is doing visible. And so here in MakeCode, I'm just going to use a forever loop. And I want to show something here on the LED screen. I want to show a number. And in this case, we are going to show what our accelerometer is doing. So what I just did is I came into the input toolbox here, where you will find some input loops, such as, or events, such as pressing the button A, or shaking your Microbit, or pressing pin 0, which, by the way, you can use this as a touch sensor. If I press pin 0 with my finger, I can actually just touch it and set it off. I'll demonstrate that in a second. Down here, we have some conditionals, which we can use. So I could put this into like an if-then statement. Down here, I could check to see if I'm shaking it. But here we have these round blocks connected to the sensors by just measuring the data that they're collecting. So when you see a round block, I think of it usually just as a number. There's some sort of number measuring what the sensor is doing, very generally. And so here, I probably need to add in a pause block because that's going to scroll way too fast. Okay. Put 1 second. So every second, I'm going to show the X position of my Microbit. And so your Microbit can be towards Earth in 3 ways, X, Y, and Z. And so when I'm holding my Microbit here flat, you can see the number 1023 scrolling. So it's completely at one end of the spectrum. So I'm going to slowly turn my Microbit to negative 1023. And so you can start to see that as I tilt my Microbit left and right, I have values from negative 1023 to positive 1023. What can I do with numbers? What can you do with numbers? This is always the exciting part. I used to say to art teachers, the more creative the math, the more creative the robot. And I was like, oh, math. How can math be creative? And then, of course, you talk to math teachers, the more creative the math, the more creative the robot. And it's like, oh, math as creativity. Yes, it's totally possible. And of course, you say creative, and the children get very excited very fast. So what can you do with these numbers? Well, let's think of them in terms of just a decision, making a decision. So maybe as I turn this left and right, I want to make a sound. So we could do if the position of the accelerometer is greater than, let's say, 500, go into our input. Let's find an accelerometer. We actually, okay. Let me just check this, see what's going on here. you can see, by the way, that when you do change some of these features, you do get your simulator modifies with you. So if you were to add in like a servo extension or some of these other options down here, like with your servo pins, you will start to see those peripherals appear. In this case, because I'm using sound and the Microbit doesn't have a speaker, it assumes you've plugged in your headphones and are listening through your headphones. So that's why the speaker jack appears here. So let's tilt it left, play tone C for 1 beat. Okay. You know, one problem with Hopin I've noticed is the sound playing through the speakers. I don't think I can share my computer audio directly with you. So maybe sound isn't a good output. Let me try lights. Okay. So when I tilt to the left, you can see the heart appear, and it doesn't go away because I didn't program it to go away. So we can change this. Maybe to be a little heart. So left, big heart, not left, little heart. And so you can begin to set, yes. I miss what Katie is. Aw, yes. Yes. I'm just reading the comments here. I'm learning so much too. You're not alone. Good. Well, that's good. Thank you, Rachel. When I go to the guides, it's not fun to be a newbie. Aw, yes, it is one of those, one of the difficulties of managing the online bit versus the in-person bit and not having 2 screens. So I apologize. There is a lot. I've been trying to go slowly so that you had time to go between the 2. But I think when someone asks a good question, when others are looking at material, you start to hear what they're asking and think, oh, I want to know that too. And it's hard to manage all the information. Thank you so much for being patient and understanding. Okay. Great, Mark. I'm so glad to hear that. That's wonderful. I'm so glad, Stacy. Thank you, Vicki, for posting that Getting Started guide. Yes. And Jared asked, how do you encourage kids to be creative when following tutorials rather than simply recreating what's demonstrated? Well, I think part of it is in the setup of the classroom. And Jared, you're an expert at this, so I know you're asking a really good question that you have lots of good thoughts on. It's kind of the mindset that you help students to have. If we're using a tutorial towards a bigger aim, that helps me to see that I'm just learning this little chunk of new information for a project that I need it for. And so I wouldn't recommend necessarily arranging instruction around step-by-step tutorials for all of your content. But if students come into class and you say early on in the year, what are the projects you're interested in? They can very quickly have a lot of ideas. You know, I want to make music. I want to make games. I want to tell stories. And just by allowing a little bit of early brainstorming and students self-selecting interest-based groups, they begin to have a project to apply their new learning for, or to. And so in my classroom, I would frame tutorials as part of our toolbox, helping us for bigger projects. If in your instruction you do set up the tutorial as the end-all be-all day by day, I do think that without giving space in the classroom for students to apply their new learning, they begin to internalize my learning stops when the tutorial stops. So trying to find small ways or big ways for students to apply their learning in self-selected ways is a really powerful way to make the most of tutorials. So I definitely will be interested in other thoughts as well. So please be sure to request to come on with the mic in the video and share your thoughts on that very important topic. How would you use tutorials in a student-centered way in your classroom? Thanks, Rachel. Batavia is teaching a class this Saturday and is looking for additional parts. Crocodile clips, tinfoil, and cardboard are a basic setup that will get you very far for a lot of applications. There's a really neat project, a reaction timer here at microbit.org. This could be a fun project with some of those materials that Rachel is mentioning. So let's scroll through here. Here it is, the reaction game. It's just kind of a fun project, Batavia, that you might be interested in. I'll drop this in the chat here. Mark, I saw you came on a video and audio a little bit ago. You're more than welcome to come back if you would like to. Ah, even more than that. Yes, Lily, absolutely. So if you provide like a choice-based board for students and they can complete tutorials, that will really build a solid foundation of specific skills before embarking on a new project. And looks like she has some kind of badging program with emoji icons. That's very cool. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to share with you today is just a quick overview of your 4th and 5th grade computer science standards in Georgia, which are organized across 9 domains. I hope today that just from looking at these resources online, you're able to see how the microbit can be integrated across all 9 domains. I did pull out the specific domain description, and really, you know, even the ones where you might not see a direct connection, like for example, identifying the rights and responsibilities and opportunities of living, learning, and working in an interconnected society. These type of computer science standards, I think, that require research and discussion and collaboration, as well as programming and making with computer science, really work well in other classrooms as well. So whether you're teaching computer science exclusively this year in your school, or you are teaching in an interdisciplinary way, I hope that you will think of computer science as an interdisciplinary subject as well, and try to reach out to new teachers, maybe your math teacher who isn't teaching computer science, and invite that person into your classroom, or ask if there's a way you can help out in their classroom. It definitely takes all of us to help open more doors for more students to get excited about computer science and even learn about it as an option. So please don't be afraid to knock on a new teacher's door with some of the knowledge and skills you have and find out how you can work together. At the end of the presentation here, I do have links to more projects, including code.org CSF integration activities and some amazing Scratch activity cards, as well as a free 14-week Introduction to Computer Science course with the Microbit and some other integrations as well. The Alice in Wonderland projects are really fun, especially for like a library makerspace or a place where students are coming and going all day and just want a quick activity, or embedded in an English language arts classroom. Finally, you can get your Microbit from microbit.org/buy. There are class packs available, class sets of 10 for $149, or you can get an individual Go pack like we use today for about $17. I'm going to stick around to keep answering questions and invite people up on stage who want to share. That's all that I have for today. Thank you very, very much for your time. Please follow us at microbit_edu, and don't be afraid to check out those resources at microbit.org. Thank you so much for today. You're welcome. Thanks, Lily. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Sarah. You guys are awesome. Thank you for hanging out and being willing to try something new. Thanks, Maria. Yes, Jenny, I do 2 students per microbit is a good number, especially to support pair programming. And I see a lot of schools pairing 2 students per microbit. Oh, I'm so glad, Jeremy. Thank you for joining. Absolutely. Vicky, because I closed down the original session, you won't be able to log in with that information anymore, but the activity that we did can be found at the link I'm going to put in the chat. And Batavia, yes, I'm going to open up a new classroom session right now. So here is the link to the activity we did. So, oh, thank you, Rachel. Rachel is on it. And Microbit Classroom. Once again, the process is to start at microbit.org and go to Let's Code. Start your new classroom here. And because I just had an activity opened, it remembers that. And I could just click Restart. Because I chose to save that information in my local machine, it's able to recognize that. However, I don't want to restart that activity. I do want to start a new one. Okay. We'll call this the name badge activity. And go into MakeCode. I'll save it to my computer, and I'll launch the activity here. The 4 steps are numbered for you right here. So complete your code, share joining details with students, peek over their shoulder, see how they're doing, and save the classroom file. So step 1, set up the editor. And here in this name badge activity, let's use the A button and the show string. Type PD. So when I press A, see my name come across. Very cool. Now you get a chance to make your own name badge. So just to keep it simple, I'll share this code. Actually, let me give some directions. All right, so I'll share that with you. Go up to the dashboard. And for those of you that came in a couple minutes late and want to join the classroom and make your own name badge, you can go to microbit.org/join and use this classroom name and these PIN number here. Yes, Batavia, yep. Yes, yes. So you are all more than welcome to join in to this classroom now, if you're just joining it with us. Thank you, Rachel. Batavia, please let me know if you have any other questions. Definitely watching the chat here, and I'll be here for the next 15 minutes, so please take your time. Thanks, Ryan. Batavia, I see that you've finished, and one of the things that I demonstrated earlier is that I could mark you back to in progress and apply changes so that you could go back in and continue working on your code. So it is possible. I just wanted to mention that to you. Jared, if you have anything you'd like to add about using tutorials in instruction that maybe wasn't said yet, please feel free to share in the chat or come on the video and share as well. Is there a tutorial in Microbit Classroom? Yes, let me grab that link for you. I think Rachel's grabbing it too. Thanks, Rachel. Can you add a teacher to help in the background? One way to do that, Batavia, is I can click on your tile here, and now I can see the code that you're working on, and I can see, oh, yes, here it is. Now, I can't tell in Microbit Classroom right here if you have a question right now. So you would need to pair Microbit Classroom with a tool like Zoom or Google Hangouts so that a student can message in the chat they have a question right then. What the child can also do is leave a comment for you. So you in your screen, Batavia, can right mouse click on your code and leave a comment for me. And then as your teacher, I could see it and actually be prepared to respond to you the next day in class. Oh, Jared, you want me to mention it? Jared says, one thing you could mention is a rhizomatic approach to the tutorials on Microbit's website. What's really cool about the microbit.org website is we don't force you into a particular funnel. And funnels actually can be quite good. Funnels, I don't mean that it's good that we don't force you into a funnel. What I mean is you can create your own learning pathway. You can create your own learning pathway for and with your students. And the microbit.org website actually supports a really open-ended approach that sometimes is called rhizomatic learning. And if you think about a rhizome as a root structure, like beans or aspen trees, their roots are all growing together underground, and the plant can pop up in multiple places. So you can have one root structure with multiple growth shooting off. And so with microbit.org, there are many places you could start. A unit of instruction, a simple Microbit or MakeCode project. I didn't show you the design challenges, but you could also come here to the project page. You could begin with a design challenge aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals. And as you get deeper and deeper into projects, maybe you find that, wow, I don't think I know how the accelerometer works as much as I thought I did. So I can come in here and actually search the tutorial section for accelerometer tutorials. And maybe I don't actually need a step counter for the thing I'm doing, but by making a quick step counter, I can learn how the accelerometer works. And so helping students to know what their options are and then allowing space for personal choice will allow them agency over the thing they're creating and make the most of the tutorials and probably learn a lot along the way. Jared, I hope I did good with that answer. Jared and I are presenting together at CSTA. He says, yep. Thank you, Rachel, for posting the Microbit Classroom tutorial video. Thank you, Batavia. Again, we are basically wrapping up for today, so I'm here for the last 10 minutes, happy to answer questions or invite folks to share with their audio and video a project that you love or a question you have. These last 10 minutes are yours. You can get them here. I'm going to put a link in the chat. Oh, wonderful, Batavia. I'll see you at CSTA as well. If you're making a presentation, be sure to drop in the name of your presentation. I'd love to join. Oh, Mark will be there too. Very lovely. Batavia, I can't wait to see what you make with Raspberry Pis or Sphero Rover and the Microbits. Sphero Rover has an extension now for Microbit. So you'll have to check out those lessons on the Sphero Rover website, Batavia. Oh, cool, Lily. Again, same thing. If you're making a presentation, share it with us so we can be sure to find you. Yes, Jared and I are making 2 presentations at CSTA, one using Microbit and Scratch to differentiate instruction, and one using Microbit and MakeCode also to differentiate instruction. We'll be talking about the rhizomatic approach and helping students to develop their CS skills while they choose the projects they most care about, and how to manage all of that in a classroom. Both of us are former teachers and have lots of classroom examples and stories to share with you. Lily, you probably could do an amazing presentation. I think people who are make the best teachers. Are there language arts applications for lower school? I just saw that, Mark. The Alice in Wonderland resources I mentioned would be one place to start. This is actually a book of activities you can buy. Control click. So in lower school, check out these projects here. There are 3 free ones that you could try before you buy the book. But the book you can get on Amazon or wherever. You can buy also directly from Tech Age Kids. So this would be one place to check out. And then as far as other activities, I look at, I'm going to come back here. Let's see here. You know, how did you get on? Okay, so Mark, when you say language arts in lower school, I'm interpreting that you mean both reading comprehension and writing. But if you could clarify what you mean by language arts, I think I can speak more directly with some more specific examples. I taught in elementary school and middle school, and by the time you get into middle school, language arts is used differently than other terms. So in Batavia, I was a classroom teacher until 2016, and then began working for BirdBrain Technologies, which was an amazing job for 3 years. And from BirdBrain Technologies, I began working for an educational service center in Ohio, and also started working for the Microbit Foundation. So just being in the field, traveling a lot, I feel like I'm a little bit on everybody's team because I do what I do to try to reach more students, not just more students, but students who currently aren't being served. And specifically those students, I want to help reach new students. And so I really believe in the mission of the Microbit Foundation and the Microbit itself. It's very inexpensive and very powerful. And I think it helps teachers feel more comfortable teaching CS even for the first time. And so my heart is here. So I think first and foremost, my heart is here, and then my body came along with it. I'm trying to, oh, right, lower, I see, to start using CS in other areas. Right, okay. So on that note, well, okay, I don't think this is a tutorial on our project page, but the simplest project that I would use this in the lower school for English language arts would be a character trait activity. I'm not sure at your school if you're already doing reading stations or small reading groups, but you know, even if you only have 20 minutes in a single reading group rotation, a quick way to use the Microbit is to have paper cups and index cards, and students actually could pre-print off the 5x5 LED array like on a printout, and have students draw in the pixels to name a character trait. You know, if we're in the reading circle, we just finished chapter 6. You know, how's Emily feeling by the end of chapter 6? Draw a picture into the 25 LEDs on your piece of paper. Well, students can actually connect that to their paper cup and say, okay, cool, we can talk about character traits, point in the text, tell me why. But then students could take that activity to a coding station in their classroom where the microbits are already plugged in and connected. And programming the LEDs is pretty intuitive for a lot of students. And they can actually take their prototype, their robot prototype from the reading circle, and actually integrate the microbit over at a programming area. Now, in my classroom, I didn't have time to do that with all the reading groups. So I only did that with one reading group. And after they went and programmed it, because I showed them how, their job by the end of the week was to teach 2 more students in the class who didn't know how to do that. And by the end of the week, all of my students had made a character trait cup bot, essentially. So the smallest possible way I would say would be with character traits, because that seems to be a popular and recurring theme in a lot of ELA classrooms. If anyone else has any other suggestions, please feel free to drop those in as well. We have just 3 minutes left. Again, this is your time. Drop your questions in the chat, come on the video at audio. Happy to answer your questions. Oh, I'm so glad, Mark. That's wonderful. Thank you, Lan. Thank you for organizing, and thank you for being an amazing host of the event.
Great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rachel, thank you, Rachel, for all the help in the chat. And you as well, Jared. This was awesome. All right, so to participants, we have a 15-minute break, and then there'll be panel sessions that you can join by going back to sessions. But so please come back at 2:45. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the conference.